I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James. You know, joy fills my soul when I get to do these recordings and I get to bring extraordinary women to you. Some of the women I know, some of them I don't, but they all inspire me because each and every one of them has said, I'm going to take control of my life. I'm going to bring passion to this planet. I'm going to be a game changer and make a difference. So I want you to meet them because I guarantee you every single woman will give you some aha moment that you can take away and use in your own life. We are on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon, video on YouTube, and we're every week. So come back, subscribe, tell other women, share the videos, and then take the tools and the gifts that they give you, because you're here to be a game changer. You're here to make a difference. You can also go to cynthiajames.net, and I have a newsletter, and you can join my community. I'd love to play with you. So let me tell you, the woman I'm about to introduce you to, I don't even remember where we met, but she just is sparkle. She's just sparkle and light and love. Her name is Tama Kieves. She's an honors graduate of Harvard Law School. She left her practice to write and help others create their most extraordinary lives. So she is the best-selling author of 4 books, and her latest is Thriving Through Uncertainty. It's been featured in USA Today, ABC, Oprah Radio, and more. She is a sought-after speaker and visionary career success coach. She's helped thousands worldwide to discover, launch, and thrive in the world and work of their dreams. She is high energy and an extraordinary being. Tama, welcome.
With an intro like that.
Well, I'm so happy to see you. And I want to start with how you were born and brought up, because chances are you didn't come on the planet and say, oh, I'm going to be a best-selling author and I'm going to change the world.
Yeah, I'm going to be a game changer. I love that. You know, I think a lot of us, probably the way that we're brought up is what influences us, right? Is what actually crafts our story. And so I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, to Orthodox Jewish family. And I had always wanted to write. That was my secret dream. But when you're at least in my Brooklyn, New York Orthodox Jewish family, that was like not kosher. You know, that was like, you're going to write, you're going to starve, you're going to write. You know, it was just, and that was the end of go for your dreams talk, you know. And so I just buried that. I completely buried my dreams. I completely just denied what I wanted to do, because that was what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to be reasonable and practical. And that influenced everything, because then I went off to law school because that's what you were supposed to do. And I got accepted to Harvard Law School and graduated with honors, and it was on partnership track, you know, but you know, what's in your heart and what you're meant to do on this planet never leaves you. God, I hope it never leaves you. It never leaves you. And it just kept like knocking at me. And even though I was, quote, successful as like the world would define it, my parents would define it, my culture would define it, something in me was so empty and so sad. And I kept feeling like this can't be it. You know, this can't be right, you know, and I even got really, really depressed and just didn't even want to be here, because I thought, oh my God, I've done what I was supposed to do and it's still not working for me. So something's wrong with me. Something's really wrong with me. And thank God, a friend of mine said to me at the time, you know, think about it. If you've been this successful doing something you don't even love, what could you do with what you love? And so that's began the whole journey for me. I just thought, you get one life. I want to know. I walked out of that law career and I just thought, I'm going to listen to this inner voice for the rest of my life.
Well, thank goodness for all of us that you did that. But I think it's such an important thing to notice. We can all push through and
Yeah.
create,
Yes.
but to do it from a place of soul and passion and being lit up is a whole different thing. So here you are, a lawyer. This is what you studied. You've done all this stuff. So now you decide you're going to be a writer. Did you know what you were doing?
No. Do I still know what I'm doing? No. you know, I knew I had that desire or that dream, but it terrified me. Like, write what, write how do you make a living, all of that. But I just kept feeling like, again, I have one life. I at least want to try, and I want to see where this inner voice could take me. And that opened me up to my spirituality. I'd never really been open-minded to that before. I just thought, spirituality is for people who can't cope. And now that I couldn't cope, it's like, yeah, where is it? Give me that stuff. For me, it really opened up my heart and my mind to listening to a voice of love instead of fear, to a voice of certainty instead of that doubting, constant, agonizing mind. And it's scary to follow your own dreams and your own intuition and go up against in the world, because I was also still an ambitious person, but it's been the greatest change of my life to really trust that inner voice moment by moment. And I didn't know what I was doing. And people think, oh, well, she had money because she was a lawyer. No, she didn't. She spent that money because she was miserable.
Right.
And so no, I didn't know what I was doing, but moment by moment, I kept following what I call the breadcrumbs of just that next instinct and that next instinct. And I did all kinds of things. I did, work to support myself while I, wrote but I just kept feeling like this has to be right. Because every time I did write, even though I didn't know what I was doing initially, it just filled me. It gave me energy, right? And I always feel like the things that are right for you, they give you energy, they give you meaning. And always the fears were taking me down. Like, well, what if you're just delusional, like you're listening to an inner voice. What if you're just crazy, and it's like or how do you know you're going to ever write something people are going to want, but I ended up starting to write about my journey. My own journey of transition was my first book this time. I danced, creating the work you love. And I just wrote like, what I needed to hear. I was in this middle of this terrifying transition, and I'd read all these self-help books, and they sounded so good, the 5 easy steps to your blah, blah, blah. And I just kept feeling like, oh my God, I'm failing self-help. It's not working for me, and so that's what started it. Like all my problems actually became my gifts because
Yes.
because I wrote the book I needed to read, and all my problems became my gifts.
Well, I think that's what some of the greatest writers on the planet are. It's
Mm.
like whatever their transformative moment, whatever lessons they're learning, whatever their opportunities are, it goes on the page. And so um, I really want to talk about, okay, so you do this first book,
Mhm.
and then what?
Well, first of all, I mean, there's a lot in that because like that first book wasn't like it took me 12 years to do that first book. So, and I always tell people because they, if they're getting depressed, they're like, oh, I'm not hiring that woman as a coach. It took 12 years. Next. I always tell people, I think it took me 11 years to heal, 11 years to believe in myself, 11 years to trust this inner power, 11 years to really believe I had a gift and something to do, and 1 year to write a book. So
Yeah.
I always tell people that when you're on this kind of journey, it takes longer sometimes because you're doing more. You're
Yes.
changing your whole belief system, your whole energy, your the way, the game changer, right? The who you were wired to be, and you're giving your gifts. So while I was writing, I also started coaching people. I started doing classes. I didn't have any of this in mind. When I first left law, all I knew that was that I wanted to write poetry, which was like so depressing. Like, oh my God, could you think of something more unlucrative if you tried? And it's like, but but here's the thing about breadcrumbs that I always tell people, that where you start off isn't where you end up. So I started writing poetry. I fought it like crazy at first. And then I thought, okay, I'm wasting a lot of money in therapy, denying, not listening to myself. I'll do it. So I started writing poetry, and poetry led me to writing these poetic essays, like I said, about career transition. And then I realized, oh, I think I want to write a book. And then I realized I'm alone and I'm scared and I want to know other people who are creative. And so I started a support group. And then people started saying, oh my God, you're so good at this. You should teach. So I started teaching classes. And then people started asking me, you're so good. Would you ever work with me individually? And so I started coaching before that was a term, and so it's just gone on and on and on. So I never had a plan for this, but there was like one step led to another step led to another step.
Yeah, and ladies, what I want you to know is that there's all these theories about what it looks like to become a successful dot 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 dot. But but I just want you to know, I have no idea how I got to where I got to because I did not follow the rules. And so, but that's what Tama's talking about. It's like you one step in front of the other. So I want to talk about fear.
No.
I
Yeah.
want to talk, yeah, because you have been so good not only at writing about it but at articulating it on stages and in interviews about the energy of fear and how to live with it, see it, transcend it. Let's
Yes.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
let's talk about fear. You're without fear. It's one of my books is the Daily Reader of but I think that first of all, what's really sad is people sometimes don't even realize it's fear. They think it's practicality. They think, oh, well, I'm just being practical. At my age, I can't do it. Or with, 5 kids right now, I can't do it. Or blah, blah, blah. They think it's being practical, but it may be fear. And by fear, I don't mean just terror or anxiety. I mean any limiting thought, anything that is taking down your limitlessness. And so I teach A Course in Miracles, which is a spiritual study program, and it's all about living in love instead of fear. And so it always says there's two different voices within us. One is the voice of fear, one is the voice of love. And fear often speaks first and loudest into most of us. And, people always say to me, like, oh, Tam, I wish I had your faith, or I wish I had your trust. And it's like, I am like the most fearful person on the planet. You don't want my mind, trust me. It's like, I've been so fearful, but I've been so brave in that I've acknowledged that I am fearful, and I acknowledge that I am timid, and I acknowledge that, and I stay with that, and I do a half step, a tiny step, and anything, and I encourage myself. I've had to learn how to be the most loving voice to me possible to get me to go forward. And I think it's why I'm a good teacher, because I'm not somebody that's, oh, well, in my great life, I got it all down. Like, well, good for you. But I think we're always going to be dealing with fear because we're always going to be growing to our next level. You're always
Yes.
going to your edge. So if you're not dealing with fear, you're probably not growing. It's just the difference of learning how to listen to that other voice in you. And one of the best ways is just to pay attention to how it feels. Love always feels peaceful. It feels good. It feels right. Even when you're scared, even when, love doesn't always tell me, oh, that's okay. Don't grow, Tama. It never says that. You don't like that risk. Don't do it. Never says that, unfortunately. It will encourage me to take steps I'm terrified about. but it will do it with love. It will do it with peace. It will do it with this remembrance that I am not alone. That when you are listening to your heart and you are listening to your love and you're listening to your creative soul or your intuition, I just want you to try on that that's a bigger power and we're not alone, right? And
Yes.
that's what we're leaning into.
Okay. 100% agree. But does this apply in relationship?
Oh, hell no. No. Yeah. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's a really great question. I tend to talk a lot about career and calling and your dreams, but I also, Course in Miracles is all about relationships and and how we see other people. So as an example or translation of that, in relationships, it's the Course in Miracles, for instance, will say that what I choose to see in you, I strengthen in myself. What I choose to see in you, I strengthen in myself. So we're taught as Course in Miracles students, for instance, that I'm always going to see the love in you. I'm always going to see the light in you. I'm always going to focus on the strength in you because that's what I want to strengthen in myself. And it's also, I just want to remember that you have two voices, fear or love, and you might be coming from fear, but that's not the real you. You might be
Yes.
coming from a limitation, but that's not the real you. And for anybody who's codependent out there, this is for you now. That doesn't mean I stay in a situation that isn't right. I will always see the light and love in somebody. But because I have so much light and love for myself, I may also choose to leave. And I may also choose to be over there. I won't make you wrong, but I also won't make myself wrong when I leave.
Love it. I love it. So, are you married? Do you have children?
No children. I have a partner of close to 30 years. And it's
Oh,
a
me too. I've been with my husband 29 years. Okay. Well, this is okay.
so
So,
he would tell you, yeah, let her talk on about relationship. I want to get but he's not in this interview now, is he?
no, he's not. But this is why I asked this question because you have been focused.
Yes.
You are ambitious. You want to make a difference on the planet. That takes energy and that takes intentionality. And so do relationships. So how have you
Hmm.
navigated
Wow.
Tama, the
Wow.
world presence with Tama, the partner?
Woo! I was really clear in the very beginning of our relationship that this was my dream and this was my mission. And I was already on that path, not obviously not to the level I am now. So I had told him when we met, I'm not normal. you know and if you're looking for that, I'm probably not her. I'm not that of and so I was very clear up front. And also my only real commitment is to my inner voice and to my God and to my spirit. That's my real commitment. And I'm always going to follow that first. And that does involve relationship. And so it's a dance, like a lot of times, or even in a career where there's so many different things that are competing for your attention, right? Or like you said, relationships or whatever, and people are like, how am I going to navigate that all? How am I going to put that all together? And the only way I've known how to do that is to be really present and to be moment by moment. In this moment, I'm doing this interview. And in next moment, I'm doing something else. And in next moment, and I trust my inner voice to guide me, because there will be times where no, the relationship demands more attention now. The
Right.
demand, and relationship for me, I mean, they're all different for everybody. A Course in Miracles talks about how relationships, we're here to grow. We're here to really grow ourselves, right? It's not so much that, oh, I'm going to find the right person and then I'm going to get all my needs met. I thought that. I was hoping for that plan, but that didn't. But I have grown so much because this relationship demands that I be my better self. It doesn't work otherwise. It
Right.
really doesn't, of like, we just both disintegrate if I'm not in my higher self, and same for him too. Of And my higher self doesn't mean that I'm getting all the things I thought I wanted or all the things my smaller self thought it wanted. right? But it's not sacrifice. It's not, it's not consent. It's just I've grown to again become so in love with that presence that, that's inside me that heals everything.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I your new book is about thriving in uncertainty.
Yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about that because looking at the planet we live on today, there couldn't be more uncertainty.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So I just, what
Yes.
do you want to tell the audience? I mean, because a lot of us are trying to navigate what the
Yes.
heck are we
What the
looking at?
hell? What the hell?
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So what do you want to say about that?
I started writing the book because, I do so much coaching, and most of my coaching is around finding your dream and living your dreams, and like doing something long term and staying with it, right? And what I noticed is that so many of my clients couldn't handle the uncertainty. That it was just that my path, an inspired path, is always there's going to be uncertainty because you're growing and you're going to your next level, and they just didn't know how to handle that uncertainty, and it was getting in the way of everything they really, really wanted. So that's what started me writing it. And really, what I want people to know about uncertainty, because I started writing before all the craziness happened in the world, of which keeps getting crazier, is that for me, it's almost like where your plans end, where your plan ended, where it didn't work out for you, where you don't know what to do at all anymore. That's where your destiny begins. That's where something else starts, because that's what happened for me, is that when I'm most uncertain and I'm most scared, I have to remember that I'm not alone and that my brain is scared. My control freak is scared, but I'm led. So that's what I want you to know, is that wherever you are, where you're uncertain, the good thing about it, it's going to make you give up your usual ways of doing things and your usual ways of figuring it out and your usual ways of forcing it. You're now beyond what you know how to do, and you're going to finally open up to a superpower, right? Because
Yes.
you're going to open up to a superpower of that, like, because for all of us, and I have to practice this constantly, to realize, oh my God, I'm not alone. And there is a higher resource. And there is a plan within this planlessness. There is a genius inside all of us. I really think that's what's going on in the planet right now. I think all the crazy uncertainty, all the falling apart, all the hatred and anger and division, I think it's the falling apart of the old ways. I don't think the world is falling apart. I don't think we're falling apart. I don't think your life is falling apart if you're listening. I think your old life is falling apart. I think the life
Yes.
that's too small for you, it might be falling apart. But I think we're all here to awaken to this other power that's unimaginable. And it again, it's just listening to that. So for me, uncertainty, I don't love it, by the way. I teach it, but I personally don't love uncertainty. And yet I do when I use it. When I think,
Yes.
okay, I'm done figuring this out. I'm going to finally listen to my heart in this moment.
That is so beautiful. Well, and yeah, so ladies, what's important about what she's saying is it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what your gender is, doesn't matter what your preference is. Every single one of us goes through uncertainty, and how you deal with that issue is the only issue. And
Bam, bam.
yeah. So I
And
just want you to know. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other thing I forgot to say was, what I also want people to know about uncertainty is that everybody's thinking, well, if I just get over there, I'll be okay. If I could just get a bonus, I'll be okay. If I could just get this health diagnosis reversed, I'll be okay. If my kid could just get into college, I'll be okay. If whatever it is, we're all doing that. When I get over there, I'll be okay. And life is here. And I want you to know that in the thick of the uncertainty, that's where your life is. If you're uncertain, there's something here for you right now. It's not over there, because it's never going to happen. Most of us are wasting our lives thinking, I'll get over there, and then something else happens, and then something else happens. We're looking for a false sense of certainty. And I think if wherever you are right now, if you're feeling uncertain, if you could be here and start listening, what does my spirit want from me here? And by the way, most of the times what it wants is it wants you to heal. It wants you to be
Yes.
loving to yourself. It's not even talking about what you should do. It's talking about what you should stop doing or how to be loving to yourself.
Oh, absolutely. How do people find you and all of your wonderful gifts and services?
Thank you. Um, First of all, on social media everywhere, although my Facebook page was hacked. So make sure you go to my right Facebook page, which is facebook.com, Tama Kieves author. Tama Kieves author is mine. There's somebody that's using my name now. It's killing me, but that's a whole other thing. Uncertainty of, so I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that good stuff, and Facebook. But please go to my website, tamakieves.com. It's the mothership. And if you want, I have so many free gifts. You can do 3 different coaching videos with me that are free, that will help you with a lot of what we've been talking about today, that will help you personally to walk through. There's also my free fortune cookies that you get that come into your inbox with an inspired message. So if you go to tamakieves.com/ the word free dash stuff. And Tama Kieves is TAMAKIE, V is in Victor, ES.com/ free stuff. Right. And then you can get anything and everything there. There's free classes out there. So there's a lot of good stuff, just because I would love to continue this conversation. If you've been touched by it, I'd love to have you. I have a worldwide community like us also that are really daring to live from inspiration instead of fear. And I'd love you to
Yes.
join us. And I'd love you to support Cynthia James because she's freaking amazing. And this is such a privilege to have her on the planet and be gifting us with these interviews. That takes a lot of work behind the scenes. It takes a lot of work and a lot of focus. So don't take her for granted. Seriously, support her.
Thank you, Tam.
Yeah, true.
So I asked the same last question of every guest on my show.
Mhm.
This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet in this moment?
Wow. I think it's about daring to trust your freaking genius. Daring to trust. I think women, unfortunately, we doubt ourselves more. We have greater capacities. We have different capacities. Just like Cynthia said earlier, her success was not following the rules. She might not have dared to listen to that, and we would have lost that light. And so, for all you women out there might be something coming to you that you're wanting. And you may go into doubting, because a lot of us women do. And I think this is the time and this is the moment that you need to start trusting that brilliance that's in you and that's only in you. There is no one else like you. And so I always tell people, your dreams are not frivolous. They're not frivolous. They're not silly. They're not dumb ideas. They're imperative. We need you. We need your gifts. We need your love. We need that. And you need to give it, because it's what's going to heal you. And to me, that's what awakening is that as I awaken the gifts and genius that are in me. I help the people around me, but I heal me in doing it. So please trust yourself.
That is so beautiful, Tama. Thank you so much for being here. And more importantly, I'm so grateful you're on the planet and that you have such a willing heart. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies, I end this show the same way. I hope you were just listening to Tama. That was a living affirmation.
Mm.
You're unique, you're powerful, you're brilliant, you're a genius, you're here to do something nobody else could do. So this is what I want to say. It's okay. You can embrace the uncertainty. You can embrace the fear. You can embrace the doubt. But in the middle of it, know that there is a universe that's celebrating your presence on this planet. Trust it. We need you. I love you. And I'm so grateful to get to do this with you. I'll see you soon.